Hello, you're watching TelecomTV. I'm Guy Daniels. What are the most important strategic choices facing CSPs in 2024? What issues should they be most aware of, and what external factors could shape the industry? Well, joining me now to share his views is Rabih Dabboussi, who is Chief Business Officer for Rakuten Symphony. Good to see you again, Rabih. Now, as we transition to another year, what do the strategic priorities for a telco look like in 2024?
Guy, it's good to be with you again. And let me start by saying thank you for TelecomTV and for you specifically, Guy, for driving a lot of those key and topical points in the industry. I think 2024 will bring in three main aspects of, I would say, transformation and evolution into the preparation for the rollout of 5G. The first one is most operators around the world are continuing to struggle in defining monetization services for their networks. I think in the last decade with LTE, we've had significant improvement and many strides in that space where telcos are starting to realize that really what's going to make it for them is the experiences and the services, not just the connectivity part of their offering. So that seems to continue to evolve in big ways. Most of the operators I speak with are looking at new monetization techniques and partnerships with an ecosystem that brings a win-win-win approach to those new services. Most of those services are centered around transaction-based services, B2B2C, and some direct consumer services as well. We used to call them advanced services or value-added services. Now they evolved into techniques and experiences that leverage the capabilities of those new networks. And these new networks bring the coverage and the capacity, obviously, but also the high availability and latency that now enables us to do things that we couldn't do in the past. So that's number one. Number two, as CSPs and mobile operators specifically start gearing up for expansion in their networks and adding the layer of 5G on top of that. And there's different level of maturities around the world from region to region, country to country, operator to operator. But no doubt 5G has launched and it's continuing to expand in its footprint and coverage. This now brings a question to whether you continue with the same technology stack and the same cost structure, or you explore potential new technologies that could bring operational and cost benefits to those CSPs. The investment in a new generation of network is massive. It comes in, depending on where you're operating, but it comes in hundreds of millions and sometimes and in many cases in billions of dollars of capex and opex investments. So every operator around the world is now considering the potential to leverage, first of all, a software-centric, highly virtualized, Open RAN-based approach to their access network, which continues to be about 70% of the cost in both CapEx and OpEx of any operator around the world. Additionally, the realization now that a migration towards a software-centric architecture brings a lot of value simply because you leverage the economies of scale in the compute systems that have become available recently in performance and in capacity. I think they match the proprietary hardware. In some cases, they exceed the proprietary hardware performance. Nonetheless, and more importantly, they are cost optimized to a level that is beyond just the proprietary hardware and the bespoke technology. That's number two. Number three is the very ubiquitous and unified approach and strategy across any operator I speak with today to accelerate the digitization of operating a network. We used to call this an automation or a service-oriented network, or OSS. The combination of these things with the new technologies of AI, predictive analytics, anomaly detection, the ability for you to stitch processes together and automate them, has become now a very important pillar, and every operator I speak with has either the intention or they are undergoing a big digital transformation in the way they operate the business, manage the network, and manage the customers along with that. Customers' expectation at the end of the day is about speed, it's about high quality, it's about the performance and the KPIs and the advanced services they harness out of their connectivity provider or their CSP. So that's in summary, Guy, for you on what I see in 2024.
Great. Thanks, Rabih, for those insights. There's obviously a lot going on within telco, but what is happening outside of the telco sector that we must be aware of and understand, especially in terms of markets, customers, and the competitive landscape?
Yeah, I mean, on the outside, you have, from a telco point of view, you have two kind of segments of customers, if you think about it in very simplistic way. One is the consumer segment and their behavior. And the second is the enterprise segment and their needs and the requirements of those new networks. So on the consumer side, we see a complete transition now from being a voice and message-centric business to now making sure that you offer your customer a unique and differentiated experience. And that unique and differentiated experience revolves around a few very strategic and important elements of what you offer to your consumers. First and foremost is a continuous and highly available network coverage. Second is the throughput and the performance on latency and downlink and uplink performance of the network. And third is on the rich media experiences that come along with that, whether it's social media or all of the entertainment and content services that is taking place around us. The younger generations have clearly moved away from messaging in the form of SMS. Most of the messaging apps are now over the top. There is a resurgence of potential partnerships with those OTTs, where you can provide a B2B2C model with some of the OTT or over-the-top application providers, such as WhatsApp, for example. At Rakuten, we have Viber, obviously, and we've applied that model many years ago, where we provide access to our business partners to message and communicate with their customers through the Viber platform. The other segment, which is the enterprise segment, needs are evolving very quickly as well. There are two parts of that transition and that evolution. The first part is many of those large enterprises, depending on which sector they operate in, are in clear need for either a private 5G or a private network that is beyond the Wi-Fi range that Wi-Fi could offer for them. And these industries are very well known, the oil and gas industry, the mining industry, the transportation industry, the manufacturing industry. They're all in need of those private networks. That's on the kind of the enterprise space. In the government sector, the typical needs on defense and security, such as police, emergency, fire, and ambulance, they've always traditionally built their own private network to avoid any interference and any mishaps in their network. So they always build an overlay that is private. 5G now brings advantages in making sure that they have those private networks deployed and the use cases deployed on top of those new 5G networks or private 5G networks, which are completely differentiated from what we've seen in the past generations of network, most importantly in the ultra low latency and ultra high capacity and bandwidth. But then on the customer, from the enterprise to customer side, we've seen a lot of collaboration in the industry now on how to partner and offer a B2B to C model. The simplest way is message to business to consumer. That's typically a need that touches every enterprise, regardless where they are. Additionally, it's how to onboard and expand their businesses if the enterprise addresses the consumer space. Obviously, connectivity and reachability to those customers, customer segmentation, that requires a lot of partnership with the CSPs. And last but not least, if it's an enterprise that offers solutions to other businesses, it's about making sure that those services and those offerings are also facilitated through those partnerships. In general, if you think about it beyond the telco and connectivity space, the enterprises have gone through significant transformation in the last decade. The adoption of cloud has now become prevalent. In the early days, there was a lot of naysayers and doubters about the feasibility of using a publicly offered compute system, storage, and services and applications and software. Today, it has become the norm, and no enterprise around the world today questions whether their HRMS, their ERP system, their CRM system should or should not be deployed on a public cloud or on a regional cloud or a country-specific cloud. Obviously, we have to take into consideration all customer privacy and sovereignty of data and customer information. So that transformation has happened. And just like with the CSPs, as I alluded to earlier, the focus on automation, the focus on digital transformation, the focus on eliminating the need for human beings to define a process and carry through those processes step by step. There is a strong need in the enterprise world today to evolve this digital infrastructure that they have invested in over the last many, many years and try to get the machines to do the work by themselves through automation. AI is big. It's on the mind of every enterprise, and how to leverage AI to reduce costs, but also expand reachability to customers, accelerate responses to customers, and enhance the production and the solutions and the products they develop.
Well, there's a couple of areas I'd like to pick up on. You mentioned partnerships then. As we look ahead, how important are partner models and ecosystems to telcos?
It is super important, Guy. This is a really very important question. And I would say no telco around the world today could survive by doing everything by themselves. And, in the past, we've learned through those very, very kind of limited partnerships, the network is built typically by the network vendor. The managed services kicked in about a decade and a half, 2 decades ago, where systems integrator could come and offer operational services and complete managed service of the network to opcos. The new area or the new space of collaboration and partnerships we're seeing is on the customer-facing side of the business, and we're seeing a lot of ecosystems being built where banks could partner with a telco to offer their services and their products to the telco's customers and vice versa. there's a lot of details and a lot of data that any telco owns today and has insight on, from customer behavior to customer location to customer activities to customer transactions. And although there is a need for customer privacy within the jurisdictions and the laws of the land, but at the same time, as you anonymize, you could definitely offer customers very bespoke and unique and personalized experiences and offering. And enterprises can target their customer outreach through that information. Now, this can only be done through analytics and through leveraging the model of big data and leveraging the model of multi-input to one output, where you collect numerous reference data into one big data lake, and you analyze, how can I offer my customer a more personalized experience, and how can I actually capture a bigger share of the wallet of that customer before losing him to another service provider or to another enterprise that offers him products and services.
And specifically from a cloud perspective, what are the most important issues for a telco to consider?
So that's another very important topic. I have always been very vocal about the fact that most leaders in the telco space do not realize that over the last few years, they have actually ended up with a cloud of cloud in their network. And what I mean by that is they've gone through this kind of digital transformation on some of the network functions. Most of those have been outside the RAN domain, because RAN came later in the picture. About 7 years ago, we started virtualizing a lot of network functions in core, packet gateways, in IMS, and OSS and BSS, and a lot of IT technologies. Today, we are expanding that into the core. So through this journey, and for most brownfields, they are now facing the challenge of dealing with numerous virtualization stacks in their environment. That's what I call the cloud of clouds, because it's not one single cloud. That's on the private side. And then in the public domain, they typically consume cloud services and software offering, SaaS offering, that comes with different flavors and different performance. And that's really a big challenge. It's a big challenge in cost, because then you don't have one single provider for your virtualization stack. It's also a challenge in maintenance, where you have to maintain and troubleshoot and debug and fix multiple virtualization stack. And last but not least, operationally, it's not really feasible. So we have a different approach. I've been very vocal about this. Unifying the cloud stack and the virtualization stack is important. Second topic that is top of mind for telcos is how they deal with the legislations around data privacy and customer privacy and the sovereignty of customers' data. That has now necessitated requirements of cloud providers to stand up data centers in country or in region. For example, GDPR requires that certain customer data does not leave the European Union, and that is now happening as we speak, and many of the cloud service providers and the co-hosting companies are now establishing presence in Europe to serve this GDPR compliant solution. It has happened elsewhere, where many of the cloud service providers had to build an instance of their cloud in country to offer government entities as well as enterprises cloud services in country. The third aspect is, how do you actually build a long-term strategy and plan for your company to still benefit from the public cloud service providers' offerings, as well as understand what you need to do in your own network to build your own private cloud. I believe the future is going to be a hybrid cloud for most of the telecom service providers. It's less so on the enterprise. I think for most part, you could probably leverage a public cloud in the enterprise. But without doubt, in the telco space, there has to be a combination of certain functions, certain elements, certain data, and certain software and applications that have to be deployed within your network, and that requires the build out of a unified public cloud with one single virtualization stack to gain the benefit of that unification that I spoke about earlier. And second is to define which of those applications could actually be deployed in the public cloud to leverage the economies of scale, the cost, the support, and the speed at which the public cloud is offering these services. So I believe, Guy, in 2024, there will be a lot of focus in that space. And last area in the cloud that is top of mind is security. I get asked many questions. I get grilled many times on explaining how come cloud could actually be equally as secure as proprietary hardware, and putting your radio access network, your connectivity functions and applications on top of cloud. Is that something that telcos should embark on? And my answer has always been yes. I see no difference between a core function which carries numerous critical applications in a telco network. I see no difference between that and the radio access network. The core functions have been virtualized for a long time. They have been deployed on a virtual stack. No digital system is 100% bulletproof or 100% secure, including proprietary hardware and very bespoke software that is not open to the standards. And it's the same in the open to standard and completely democratized and diversified architecture. So I don't like to get into the details of comparing proprietary versus cloud and which one is better from a security perspective. But I do believe that the security concerns are not major concerns to hinder and prevent any telco to leverage cloud, whether it's public or private, for their network functions, for their data, as long as we are still within the bounds of our sovereign data and customer privacy. And additionally, I see no reason why operators should not adopt that cloud to move their radio access network to a software-centric running on commoditized hardware with a virtualization stack of their picking.
Thanks, Rabih. And finally, to summarize this, what are your recommendations to all telcos for 2024?
So, the recommendation will vary depending on which telco, but in general, I think this applies to most. We are now in the journey of either expanding LTE or adding new 5G sites to networks. My recommendation, first and foremost, is to consider the future tech, which is open architecture, epitomized with Open RAN and the leverage of commoditized hardware or compute off-the-shelf hardware COTS. Second is really work with an industry leader who understands the day-to-day pain that they go through to help them in this digital transformation, to minimize the dependence on human eyes and human fingers to maintain the network and troubleshoot it and operate it, and do as much automation as possible through the advanced techniques and digital tools that have become available in the last years. Most importantly, in leveraging what we have in AI algorithms and predictive analytics and anomaly detection, which has brought tremendous value and improved response rates and quality overall in operating the network. And last but not least, rethink about their business model. The business model starts with a cost structure of your network, but it doesn't stop there. It really goes all the way through what you offer to your customers and what makes you unique and different, and how you can monetize that network further, and use the multitudes of potential services that can grow your ARPU from being a single digit in US dollars. In some areas, it's $1, unfortunately, for those opcos. In other areas, it's still in the 70, 80, or even $100. But for the most part, ARPUs are under tremendous amount of pressure, and there's no reason why with a new strategy around partnerships, around differentiated offering, around advanced services and experiences to the customers, there's no reason why you cannot multiply the average revenue per user per month when you achieve that. So these would be my three very important recommendations that I would make ubiquitously across to all CSPs around the world.
Well, we must leave it there. Rabih, good talking with you again, and thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
Thank you, Guy, and thanks to TelecomTV. Good luck.